It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, and it is a Monday. We got a brand new week. They call it the present because it's a gift. That's what they say, Scotty. So here we are, baby. The present, a gift. Man, we got a lot to cover today. Some of it's a bummer. We got to get into the Jake Retzlaff stuff. We have up-to-the-minute updates on that, and also we have information. We, of course, have opinion based on experience and based on facts that have been gathered. We're also going to talk about Dawn Staley possibly being in the running for the Knicks job. And I went to an FC Dallas game with Scotty on Saturday night, and Christy and Caden. Christy, my fiance, Caden, her son. And I have a review. And I also have a couple ways that I think I could make MLS soccer more interesting, specifically in Dallas. But we'll get to that later. We want to start with the Pete Sousa Show being presented by Slovacics. That's right. Come on. If you're driving down 35 and you don't stop at Slovacics and you don't see Ray and you don't get kolaches, you got a problem I can't solve. I mean, that's basically it. Say what's up to Ray. Go to Slovacics. The best kolaches and the best little taste of Texas you can get. Also, we can't forget about Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, right? Crawford Austin Properties, Socorro Family Ford, taking good care of us and helping us out. Scotty Swingler is on the wheels of steel, and we will hear from him, of course, in that third segment, particularly when we get into soccer. But we're going to start with the bummer, the Jake Retzlaff stuff. As of late yesterday, Pete Thamel reported that he was telling staff, teammates, folks within the BYU football family that he was getting set to transfer. And this transfer announcement or decision by him had come on the heels of rumors, information that there would be a 3 to 7 game suspension. Okay. Now, that 3 to 7 game suspension clearly, or the rumors around that are showing to be more and more true by the day or by the hour, and that has led to this news that he will transfer. And that's my phone. Who's calling me from Oregon? Let me turn the ringer off. Right, it's showtime, baby. So this Jake Retzlaff situation is extremely complicated. Right. The announcement is made yesterday afternoon by Pete Thamel that he has gained through his sources the information that Jake Retzlaff is telling his teammates and support staff at BYU that he will be transferring. This comes on the heels, like we mentioned, of rumors of that 3 to 7 game suspension. The people I have talked to connected with BYU football have said it was going to be 7 games or would be 7 games, right? Because it's not official yet that Retzlaff will transfer, but we can only imagine that, everything we read, all the intel we have from sources like Pete Thamel say that he will be transferring. Just to get a timeline of this, in May, a woman comes forward, files a civil suit against Jake Retzlaff, and I am not an attorney, okay? I'm doing the best I can here with this stuff, but I have done a ton of talking to people, a ton of reading, and a ton of listening. And, of course, as host of Inside the 12 for the Big 12 and calling games myself on ESPN, college football, basketball, a lot of stuff affiliated with the Big 12, I take this very seriously. And when I found out, let's back to the timeline. So in May, the civil suit is filed. It was a month, and it was a sexual assault filing. And a month later, pretty much on Friday, this is when things really started to change, or the situation started to really bubble up, right? Or the issues started to really come to fruition on the BYU Honor Code side of it, when Retzlaff filed a countersuit, basically saying that none of this stuff happened, right? And it's $1 million civil suit, based around the fact that Retzlaff is saying that Jane Doe, as she is called in these court filings, which, by the way, were filed in Salt Lake City, not Provo. And that's one thing that Jake Retzlaff's attorney wants to have switched, is that they want it to be filed in Provo, not Salt Lake City. But that's where it was filed. So this suit happens, and I'm talking about the countersuit. The countersuit is filed, forgive me, as we navigate this. And in that countersuit, Jake Retzlaff admits to consensual sex. Now, that consensual sex obviously is completely against what the BYU Honor Code stands for, which is, you have to stay celibate, right? No premarital sex. And it's frustrating because, after that announcement is made, BYU, their honor code, right? And we're talking about, we've got a Baylor, it's a Board of Regents, but whoever, Board of Regents, right, in Provo, members of the Church of Latter-day Saints, like, it's not like Kalani Sitake and Brian Santiago huddling up and saying, like, what decision do we think is prudent now because he broke this rule? It gets kicked up to the powers that be, right? Where it becomes a very simple decision. We have an honor code, right? It says one thing. His behavior was outside of that honor code. So there are consequences. They did not throw him out of school, by the way. They gave him a 3 to 7 game suspension, which, like we mentioned, we have heard that it's 7 games. The responsibility and accountability lies with Jake Retzlaff. You make a decision to go to BYU. You are well aware of the circumstances surrounding that commitment. You defy. You are defiant, right? Okay, you break the rules. There are consequences. End of story. I'm not saying Jake Retzlaff isn't a bad guy. I'm not saying if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't have made the same mistake. I'm just saying that this is where we are today. And it's very simple. You know, there's a good friend of mine, I talk about being sober. There's a good friend of mine in recovery that talks about, like, if you have a moral code, a real moral code in life, like, decisions are easy. And this one, and I think that's why we saw it made so quickly after the announcement or after that countersuit was filed, in which it was obvious that Jake Retzlaff had had sex with this woman, whether it was consensual or not consensual. It is very clear right now that they had sex. And by the way, there is a young woman involved in this. There is Jake Retzlaff, a young man, and a bunch of other people, families involved. This situation sucks. Okay? There are no winners in this situation. And I don't care if you're going to try to tell me that Notre Dame is a winner, because that's where Jake Retzlaff just might transfer. And we'll get to that momentarily. I think it's fair to look at the history books, because I asked myself this question, all right? And BYU fans and supporters, like, hang in there with me as I just kind of go through this out loud. I can go all the way back to Brandon Davies, right, on the Jimmer Fredette team. And then before that, to a guy who played for my Eagles, Reno Mahe, right? And I remember the Reno Mahe story. He and his girlfriend, they were going to have a baby. She became pregnant. This is according to Reno Mahe and documents. And he was thrown out of school. And he actually did what he needed to do to gain re-entry into BYU, finished there, ended up playing 4 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, which was really capping. I mean, he reached his full potential, Reno Mahe. I think as a returner, he had like almost 2,000 returning yards for the Eagles. He was our guy, and he played some running back and stuff. So he had a fruitful career in the NFL. I hope Jake Retzlaff is paying attention, okay? Like, it's not over because you suffer the suspension. And I understand he felt, okay, I'll only play 4 games. But with the way the NCAA works today, too, there's all kinds of petitions and legal matters you could do to get more time to play. But that's beyond me, and that's not what this conversation is about. So the Reno Mahe thing, right there, okay, a woman gets pregnant, his girlfriend, and the consequences are suffered. Brandon Davies, same thing. A woman, his girlfriend at the time, and she's out there publicly. I forget her name. It's JC something. But she is out there publicly. You don't have to look hard to find her, and she will talk about the fact that this situation happened with her and Brandon Davies. But Brandon Davies you're off the team. This is a team that had Final Four potential. You were off the team, okay? Now, to me, initially in my head, I'm like, well, you know, what's going on at BYU in a sense where it's like something has to happen before something happens. In essence, like, hey, if we don't know you're having sex, that's fine. But if we find out through legal matters, through someone getting pregnant, and it comes to our front door and starts knocking, then we have to take action. But then, as I thought about this out loud, I'm a guy who went to the University of Richmond to play football, right? Full scholarship. I went to school. They had an honor code, right? Now, this was related to academics. But the honor code was such, and I can remember this because I was a bit of an outlaw when I was younger. The teacher, we would have 15, 20 of us in a class, smaller classes at the University of Richmond, and the teacher would give us a test and leave the room. I was like, are you serious? And I'm in the back with like plenty of room. Like, if I had wanted to cheat, I could cheat. It's called an honor code, right? And this is the conversation or my thought process earlier today. Look, man, it's not on BYU to police these guys night and day. When you sign with BYU, you make a decision. I am going to adhere to said honor code. If you don't, we've got consequences. And oh, by the way, right? You look at Ryder Lyons just committing to BYU. Okay, now it'll be a minute before he gets to campus, probably like 2027, 2028, because he's going to take a mission. Because obviously, you know, being a member of LDS means a ton to him. And that is a sign that, like, also for BYU, like, we don't need to compromise for anybody. We got the best quarterback in high school, or that we could possibly get, like top 5 rated quarterbacks in his class. He's coming to BYU. Like, we don't need to compromise for anyone. We are a monster, right? In the best sense of it. So now we turn the page to football, which is my favorite part, okay? You've got a quarterback. You got a battle. Jake Retzlaff is gone. I was actually texting with Jake Hatch from Locked On BYU this morning because I just wanted to tip the cap to Jake and say, dude, your coverage of this is amazing. And I said, this situation is the worst. I said, maybe the silver lining is Jake might have his law degree when he's done, Jake Hatch, because he has dove into the weeds legally, and he's done a tremendous job. And check him out when you're done watching our stuff. Go to Locked On Cougars. He's amazing. But he and I talked about the fact that, hey, it's just everybody has to move forward now. And that's what we're doing. So as BYU moves forward, you've got 3 quarterbacks who could potentially take the job, okay? And you've got McKay Hillstead, you've got Tyson Bourget, and you have Bear Bachmeier. Now, I can go through those 3 quarterbacks. I worked a game. It was UConn and Utah State when McKay Hillstead was a starting quarterback for Utah State. This was 2 years ago in Stores, or in Hartford, where UConn plays. McKay Hillstead is, like, super exciting. He's fast. He's undersized. He can throw a little bit, right? But he's like I think he's 5'10", 5'11". And the game I saw, the dude got pulled from the game. Utah State actually ended up winning, but he did not finish the game. And I'm not like, I wasn't overwhelmed by his skill set. Now, again, BYU is one of those programs in itself where, and that's where I think we get a little caught up with the Jake Retzlaff thing. Like, you know, BYU, as we do away with the Big 12 poll this year, right, the preseason poll, the football poll, BYU was not predicted to be one of the top teams in the conference last year, but they were pretty good. And you started to see that as the year progressed, and you saw their defense, right? Like, there was a lot beyond Jake Retzlaff that made that team very good, okay? So my point there is, and you still got, you know, a lot coming back and some great acquisitions in the portal. So, like, BYU is going to be okay. And maybe a guy like McKay Hillstead, you could plug and play, right? But this is a guy who hasn't – none of these dudes have played quarterback. At least the college guys haven't played in over a year, and Bear Bachmeier will be a true freshman. When you get into Tyson Bourget, big arm, Western Michigan guy, again, like, didn't set the world on fire, more of like a pocket dude. So you kind of have like 2 different types of quarterbacks. And then you get Bear Bachmeier, who is coming in as a true freshman. Yeah, he transferred from Stanford, but he just kind of flopped his commitment. And he came with his brother to Provo. It's going to be super interesting to see what happens. I think at some point Bear Bachmeier takes the reins because he's just the most talented. And I think if I was Kalani Sitake, that's what I would want to see happen. Because neither of the other guys are overwhelming. Now, a big part of Jake Retzlaff's success last year was, and I truly believe this, was that the ball bounced BYU's way. And early in the season, they started to pick up some serious momentum that enabled them to ride that wave of, like, greater than us, right, which is what BYU is about, ride it all the way to 11-2 and a big-time bowl win over Colorado. Then there were huge games that Retzlaff wasn't able to sort of command the type of performance that would have been needed. Look at that Arizona State loss, right? That was right. It was right there for BYU, an appearance in the Big 12 title game, and it didn't work out. I would caution Notre Dame fans if you're super excited. And by the way, it's not, in ink that he's going to Notre Dame, but it's been kicked around Notre Dame, Northwestern, just buyer beware. This is a quarterback coming back this year, Jake Retzlaff. If he played in the Big 12, if he had stayed at BYU, a lot of pundits, prognosticators, folks, I was reading a Deseret News column right before he got suspended that this is out in Utah. They had him ranked 8th in the Big 12. And as an unbiased guy just taking, the host of Inside the 12, 30,000 feet, my view, college football guy, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's not like, I would probably put him higher, but that's where we are, right? Like, yeah, the Big 12 quarterbacking class is going to be amazing this year. And that's going to be so exciting. And I think it's going to do dramatic positive things for the conference and the way it's viewed globally. But Jake Retzlaff going to Notre Dame, that is not a turnkey deal for the Fighting Irish. So I would caution that. I worry for Jake Retzlaff because I'm sure he's a good dude. I mean, by all accounts, his teammates loved him. He did something that was not in accordance to the BYU honor code. So now he's out. I'll be really interested to see how the rest of his career goes because, 3 years at BYU, community college before that, we'll find out, exactly what he's made of on the football field, not a character thing. And by the way, this civil suit is still playing out on both sides, right? But it's very clear, like there's not, as much as like this is a situation that you follow as it develops, nothing about this on BYU's end has been surprising. They have done what they have always done, right? And that's what makes BYU a great school and an emerging athletic department. I love the fact that we can look back, right, in the rearview mirror to last week where Ryder Lyons committed on the Pat McAfee show. Like, don't feel bad for BYU, okay? They got A.J. DeBonsa next year. This is going to be one of the most exciting basketball seasons in BYU history. It certainly is going in. So, I mean, again, there's no winners. And I think the ultimate message for me here with Jake Retzlaff is that his heart, I guess, wasn't in it. Like, as far as like the honor code was concerned, right? Because if his heart was really in it, right, he would have gone like the Reno Mahe route, which is like, okay, I'm going to take my comeuppance. I strayed. I made a mistake. I'm hoping you'll allow me to repent and come back. He didn't want to do that. And look, there's a lot of money involved. Potentially he's got an NFL career now. I wouldn't draft him, but I mean, this is purely football, but he does have the potential to make money playing in the NFL. So there's a lot of that's thrown into the pot, right? And this is not about what do we believe in? Do we believe in premarital sex? Do we not believe? LDS has an honor code that you're going to have to follow if you go to BYU. You stray outside the honor code, there's consequences. End of story. It's kind of simple. The sad part is that there's a young woman still involved, and Jake Retzlaff is, there's got to be, I feel bad for the dude. I do, because I've made a ton of mistakes. And, even the one issue that I do have with the way that he handled it in the aftermath, but I'm sure there was like a lot of legal stuff going on that is outside of my realm of comprehension. But the university, as far as we know, right, the university stood by. They were like, hey, we're going to find out what's going on. We are going to look at this. We are going to get all the information and we'll proceed. Now, it looks to me, at least, that there was no communication between Retzlaff and the university, or maybe there was. Maybe I just don't know. But one could believe that with BYU making the decision to levy a suspension right after that countersuit is filed and goes public, that to me is an indication that they had just recently learned about what actually Jake says occurred, which was that they did have sex. Consensual, not consensual, that this is not the time or place. So I would have liked to have again, I don't know exactly what happened, and I'm diving in the weeds, but like, you would want to be transparent with the university who's standing by you. Like, the sooner the better, because you've got an entire football program that is counting on you or waiting to see what happened, that will be affected by all this moving forward. So that bums me out too, maybe like the lack of transparency, but I could be wrong on that. I mean, that's just me shooting from the hip, so forgive me if I'm wrong. One more thing, as a former PR guy, and I'll be around Big 12 Media Days next week or 2 weeks from now, but when Kalani Sitake takes the podium, first of all, I ain't looking to ask him any questions about this, but somebody will. And if I was the PR guy, and by the way, you got a lot of PR studs working at BYU, so Kalani Sitake will be prepared. But if it was my shop and I had, I was tasked with telling him quite possibly what the message should be, I would kick it right back to the school. I would not. I don't think there's a reason for Kalani Sitake to get into this. It's about football. And if he does have to get into it, again, because folks reached out to BYU for comment over the weekend after the countersuit took place, and they said, hey, just refer back to our very earliest statement. So I think going forward, I wouldn't even get into it. He's no longer with the team. It sucks, but like, he's no longer with the team. And Jake Retzlaff, as far as we can tell, acted out, and the school did not know about this, right? The team didn't know about this. Nobody was covering anything up. When this came to light, there was a decision that was made, and it's time to move forward. Scotty Swingler, anything on this? Scotty's got nothing. The Pete Sousa Show continues after this. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of grace as I talk about this topic, because, again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not particularly bright. I've been in sports for a long time. Scotty says I might be. I've been in sports for a very long time, played, worked, call games, so I think I have like some life experience and a body of work that I can draw on to contribute to this conversation. All right, we'll be back. The Pete Sousa Show. Oh, by the way, how you guys feel about Dawn Staley with the Knicks? All right, let's talk about it. We'll be right back.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference, because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show continues. Thanks to our friends at Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Sikora Family Ford, Slovacics, my man Ray, also Extraco Bank, Crawford Austin Properties, and the list is growing of our sponsors. So if you do want to sponsor the show, just go ahead, hit me up. I'm not too hard to find. Certainly not any kind of celebrity, although I was at, by the way, my social battery is wiped out. I was at a party yesterday with about 80 people, with basically my in-laws, you know, getting married soon. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, except for when, you know, my fiance calls me over to perform, you know, like she'll be talking to a group of people. And it's like, because I do this show and I am kind of out there, you know, I do impressions once in a while, which really aren't that funny, but they're like in a group of 3 people where we know the same person, it might be funny. But when you're, Pete, come here. I'm like, oh, I'm across like the lawn and I get called over and then it's like, do that impression. I'm like, what? Oh man. Yeah, it was, so there was a couple of those. And remember, I don't drink. So the social lube is not there for me. So it can be exhausting, the conversations you have in your head, right? I had an amazing time. I really did. Like, her family's like super cool, a lot of like chill, like artsy people, just a real good vibe. But like, long is long, right? And I had a situation, I bet some of you guys can relate to this. We were going to leave at like 8 o'clock, right? And around 8. And there was like, you know, my dad was a complete spaz and he would melt down. God bless him. But he was like like an adult toddler, right? If he was late, if he was somewhere longer than he had to be, this grown man dressed very nice would start to act like a toddler. And I started to feel myself going into that zone, right? Like a little later in the evening, right? Like for the last like 10, we're talking 5 minutes, right? And I said to myself, I was like, dude, this has been a wonderful day. You've been delighted most of the time, right? And so help me God, if you're going to let this 5-minute stretch where you're about to melt down, ruin it, like that's your problem. So what you're going to do right now is you're going to win an Academy Award over the next 10 minutes. You're the guy having the best time. And I did it. And it was a beautiful weekend, of course, which included Scotty joining us for an FC Dallas game on Friday night, which was a blast. But let's get to the WNBA and the NBA. One, congratulations, Detroit, Cleveland, and Philly. The WNBA has 3 new teams coming down the pike. I think Philly's going to be 2030. I think Cleveland is 2029, and Detroit is 2028. Now, off the top of my head, first of all, you say thank you, Caitlin Clark, because this is a Caitlin Clark production. More teams coming to the WNBA is a Caitlin Clark production. Thank you, Caitlin Clark, okay? But then conventional wisdom would say, well, Dawn Staley will coach the Philly team, right? Not so fast. Over the weekend, reports that the New York Knicks are talking to Dawn Staley. A phone call, a conversation has been had or will be had between the powers that be with the Knicks and Dawn Staley. Why not, is what I say. Why not? Now, I talked to a guy this morning, former big-time basketball player, and nobody that I've ever worked with, so don't think like, oh, well, if we want to find out, we can see who we worked with this past year. No, I actually have friends outside of that, okay? And this person told me that there's no way this could work, okay? That basically these two sports are different, and that coaching men will be much different than coaching women. So not only is the dichotomy of the locker room different, but the speed of the game is different, and that could take an adjustment period. I was like, no, not even close. First of all, I believe Dawn Staley, when you look at her list of accomplishments, the basketball that she has been around her entire life as a player, elite player. We're talking in 2004 at the Olympics, right? Dawn Staley's the flag bearer for America. This is not, and I hate to say, this isn't like Becky Hammon. No offense to Becky Hammon, amazing coach, and I'm not saying she couldn't be a head coach in the NBA. But Dawn Staley is like legendary, okay? Legendary. Legendary as a player and now legendary as a coach. And I also will tell you, having worked with women's basketball teams, having been close to the sport, covering it, let's not act like it's that much different from the men's game, okay? And let's not act like some of these women, like let's say in this case, Dawn Staley in particular, will be clutching her pearls at ways that male athletes would act or things that they would say. I'll give you 10 minutes around Kim Mulkey, okay? And very quickly, you will understand that women's basketball coaches can work blue, right? Just like comedians can, and I'm not saying they run around town, with foul mouths or anything, but don't get the idea that there's not a lot of grit and also some off-color remarks and stuff like that happen in that sport. Dawn Staley won't be shaken up by that, I can promise you, okay? Now we get into the basketball side, all right? I can tell you right now that Dawn Staley will be a better basketball coach than Kurt Rambis, Herb Williams, right? I'm trying to think of some other Knicks greats. Isaiah was look, it is what it is, right? Isaiah wasn't great. I mean, I understand how he got the job, but he was there for far too long because of his relationship with James Dolan. There's a lot of bodies, right, in the New York Knicks coaching cemetery that, if you look around, it's not like, whoa, hey, you're not looking at Red Auerbach and Pat Riley all over the place, right? There's a lot of just coaches. I would say, Knicks fans, first of all, and people from a big perspective, I think New York City is a place where this would work better than anywhere else. New York City is a melting pot, right? New York City is wherever you're from, come one, come all. There is one thing that can separate you. Be the best. If you're good in New York City, it doesn't matter what you look like, right? Or what race you are, or what gender you are. Greatness is really respected there, okay? Now, we've got assholes all over the world, right? It's like, I'm listening to this book now. The book is so good. I've talked to you about it. It's, God damn, I always forget this title. It shows I'm getting old, but I want to get, Michael McCambridge wrote it. It's amazing. And it is called The Big Time. And it's about the 70s when pro sports just went to another level, thanks to TV and free agency. But it talks about guys like, Frank Robinson becoming the first baseball coach that was a black guy in 1975. It talks about how Tony Dungy was a quarterback, but because he was black, they were like, you're going to play D-back. By the way, Warren Moon wasn't drafted. The dude won the Rose Bowl and was the MVP of the Pac-8 when the Pac-8 was amazing. Now he had announced that he was going to play for the Edmonton Eskimos after he was told he wouldn't get picked in the first 3 rounds. Lee Steinberg was his agent. Like, let's not act like we've been out of the dark ages or stone ages for that long, okay? Because we haven't been. And when I get back to my previous point about there's assholes everywhere, like, you know, back then they would resort to actually writing handwritten letters and send them anonymously to people like Frank Robinson, right? Or even like Billie Jean King when she was playing tennis against Bobby Riggs, right? And so now people just resort to Twitter and fire off. So like that stuff will go on regardless. We can't necessarily have like the purge, you know, like, so we just have to navigate those ugly waters and do our best to completely be the opposite of that. But I think New York is a place where there's less of that than anywhere. And I believe Dawn Staley has the bones for this job. Now, will they offer it to her? Probably not. Would she accept it? I don't know, because there's also like things that tell you like, is she ready to? That's a lot of responsibility, and if there's someone who's cut out for it, I believe it's Dawn Staley. But man, it certainly is exciting for me, and it beats half the names that they've been talking to. And if we've learned anything about the NBA and their coaches, it ain't like you're going to sign a lifetime deal with whoever is your next coach. So there's also, and I haven't talked about this the whole time, but Rick Brunson and Dawn Staley are close because of their Temple connection. Rick played at Temple. Dawn coached at Temple, obviously from West Philadelphia. Dawn played at, I think, Dobbins. But, you know, there's a connection there that would command respect in the locker room right away, right? Through Rick Brunson. And I think that this could be a way for the Knicks to almost, and I hate to say this, it's not like you're taking Dawn's legs out from under her, but like basically the Knicks hired Dawn Staley, and it's almost like hiring Rick Brunson. But hiring Rick Brunson would just be too much because I as I've read and talked to people about, like, there was a little dissent in the locker room, reportedly, that Rick Brunson, for an assistant coach, was having like a little too much say in what was going on with the Knicks. So this is sports. It's fun. If Dawn Staley was anointed next head coach of the New York Knicks, I will be super stoked, and I will be pulling for her. Because not only that, she's an awesome person. I haven't worked with USA Basketball. I actually, if you do some real digging, okay, I wrote what I believe to be at the time a kick-ass story on Dawn Staley for the Charlotte Sting. This is when I was working for the Bobcats in PR. In the offseason, we would do stuff for like the WNBA team, and I wrote a feature story on Dawn Staley, which probably a little too wordy and flowery, but for me, it was pretty good. And you know, I think you can find it out there. And she was really cool to me, and just was really straightforward. And she wasn't like a lot of times, like, you love working with women's basketball players because they're just so willing to do anything because they want to get their name out there. Dawn's not like that. She's like a real like basketball person. So she was like, wait, what is this? Okay, cool. And she sat down and she was awesome. So yeah, one more thing about the NBA before we take a break and get to our last segment where Scotty and I will talk about the MLS and FC Dallas. Big story, unnerving, and this goes back to the FC Dallas game. Scotty can give confirmation on this. During the game, which I bet on Los Toros and lost, which just shows that I'm a complete moron. The Dallas lost 3-2. But during the game, I did lean over to one Scotty Swingler and said, I feel like we're not that far away from our next big gambling scandal in sports. I said that, correct? Yeah, because what is, you know, one of those MLS guys, whatever, like there's chicanery in soccer sometimes, at least overseas there is. And I was like, you know, what's to stop one of these guys? Well, forget about soccer. How about the NBA? We wake up Sunday morning and Malik Beasley is being investigated by the feds. Now, is Malik Beasley guilty? No. But did the feds come knocking at your door because something doesn't smell right? Like, so there's some stuff here. And allegedly, as the report goes, that this goes back to when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks, actually. And there was of course, right, we're talking about player props. There was a player prop where I think it was like 2.5 rebounds for Malik Beasley. And the night of the game, there was a ton of money put on the under for Malik Beasley, to the point where it raised a lot of flags in Las Vegas. Did you hear this, Scotty? Yeah. So, and it turns out, dude ends up grabbing 6 boards. After, like the odds had switched so much because there was so much money on him to go under 2.5. Now, last point on this. Malik Beasley averaged 16 points last year for Detroit. He is literally on the 5-yard line from signing a 3-year, $42 million deal, right? And now this. This is an example in sports where I just back away and say there is so much that we don't know. Because right now Malik Beasley's getting paid $6 million a year. And like how a guy making $6 million a year will get roped in to a gambling scandal that involves player props that I thought were literally, I mean, after the Jahante Porter thing, I figured that, only college schleps playing at Mount St. Mary's that have player props, that's worth that guy's while, because maybe he's getting $500 NIL. I didn't see it coming from Malik Beasley. So maybe he's innocent. Terry Rozier, we've never seen any official charges against him. And he was being investigated like so many months ago. But it's hard to imagine how something like this happens at that level. It's really difficult. I always say, back in the day, if I'm playing right field for the Yankees and I'm making $200,000 and I get over my skis gambling in New York City, just gambling on other sports, yeah, I'm a vulnerable target to drop a fly ball in right field so I can get even with my bookies, right? If they tell me to throw a game while they're holding me off of a balcony at a hotel, like maybe I'm going to throw a game, right? Because I got no other choice, because I'm $150,000 in debt and I only make $200,000 a year. Relatively speaking, that gets tight. $6 million a year, it's hard to imagine like where that goes and how you get into this kind of trouble. But again, there's a lot I don't know. Some of the stuff I don't know is soccer. We're going to come back on the other side of the break and talk about FC Dallas. The Pete Sousa Show rolls on.
Did you know nearly all stock price changes of 10% or more result from a single news headline? These news catalysts create trading opportunities every day. All you need is a little help to reach out and take them. It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
BosleyMD.com.
I've always had thin hair my whole life. It breaks off at a certain length. In the last 6 months, I've noticed it just really bad. I mean, you could totally see it. I wear a hat a lot. I tried several different products. My experience with the Beasley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner.
Since 2003, Bluehost has been empowering people to harness their brands online with innovative web hosting solutions. Trusted by over 2 million users, we're the longest-running WordPress.org recommended host. With Bluehost, you get a safer, better web experience, supported by the world's most popular site builder, and backed by our commitment to open source projects. Visit Bluehost.com today and take your website to the next level.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit internX.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress. It's like a wearable hug for your nervous system that helps you calm down and feel better. The Apollo wearable will send gentle vibrations to your body, like a song you can feel instead of hear. You feel better, you sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Angles 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Angles90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show. We are kicking it, literally. We're about to talk about soccer, something we've never done before. We're doing it because Scotty Swingler and myself, Scotty, bring yourself up, come on, went to an FC Dallas game with my lovely fiance and her son.
I got a cool hat.
On Saturday night. It was, okay, now, from an experience standpoint, I got to spend time with Scotty, who I love. So the connection there is great. The conversation, the vibes. Scotty came to the house, hung out for a while, parked his car. We drove together. That was part of the experience, right? My fiance talking about how former NFL great wide receivers were trying to slide in her DMs.
That was fun.
Or yeah, she was former big time Hall of Fame wide receivers that she flirted with on Bumble.
Yeah.
Where allegedly nothing happened.
I believe her.
Oh, I believe her. Trust me. There's nothing not to believe. But hey, she's a beautiful woman. That's what happens. You want to kick it with the best, right? You're going to have some of the best trying to kick it with her.
Why you put a ring on it?
That's it.
Heck yeah.
So the game in itself, okay. Scotty, I got to be honest. Like during the game, I was like, first of all, partially on me because the seats I got were like they weren't the best seats. Would you agree? We were all the way on the side.
We were far into one corner, which is fine. I've attended other games like that. That's not the first time I've had to sit in the corner.
But for a first-time soccer
when the action's on the other end of the field, it's pretty fun. I mean, you're 120 yards from the action.
There's two schools of thought. One, it's almost like watching a wide cam of a football game because you really can't see the play develop. So that's cool.
Right, yeah.
But when it's up close, that's super exciting too.
Right.
The game is soccer can be kind of boring, Scotty. Let's just get it out there.
Oh.
Like I was kind of sitting
compared
there.
to what?
Compared to basketball or football or even baseball?
Basketball or football or baseball volleyball? Where you're sitting on your hands most of the game because nothing's actually happening?
So this is another thing. And this is where I defer to you.
All right, I'm ready.
You do, to appreciate the game, you kind of have to know the game with soccer. Now, there were some outstanding feats of strength and athleticism that we witnessed in that game. No question about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there were amazing, there was amazing skill on display. I will say, neither of those teams are very good. I took that, right? Like we weren't seeing the best of the best.
Correct.
Yeah. I could tell, there were some things that,
Well, for Dallas in particular, because I was griping about it all night. They were playing a couple guys who were pretty deep on their bench too.
Yeah.
Who
22, you weren't a fan.
Oh, they barely belong in MLS, which means they belong in a pretty poor professional league. So I mean, yeah, you are correct. It was not the most highly skilled soccer match.
One of the best parts of the game, and I felt like an outsider because I was cheering for Los Toros, and I had placed money on Los Toros, right? Legal gambling. But Chucky Lozano was the big story.
Yeah.
Former USA national team member.
Mexico.
Mexico, sorry.
Ooh, don't make that mistake again.
My bad.
You'll have people all up in the comments.
My bad. But played in World Cups.
Yeah. He is a Mexican national team. Legend is probably one step too strong, but a very, very prominent, good Mexican national team player.
A lot of folks in the stands with Lozano jerseys on. People were there to see him.
We were sitting right next to a pretty big group of kids they were on FC Dallas gear, but every time Lozano would come down and do his little warm-up stretching and stuff, they, Chucky, look at me. Like, everyone was there to see him. Yeah.
So they put him in the game, and he gives us our money's worth.
Yeah.
He scores.
Within like 2 minutes.
And not only does he score, when he scores, he gets right up on the goalie. And like, I was almost like, oh my God, like, I thought he was going to help him up. No. He was talking all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
It was awesome.
And that was awesome. And now that part of the game, by the way, I appreciated. There were no referees separating that. Like that's part of the game.
That's part of soccer. Yeah.
Okay. Another thing I loved. Now, see, I can't even try that hard to go negative. What about the goalie for FC Dallas?
Martin Pass. You're a big fan of Martin Pass, yeah.
I am the leader of the Martin Pass fan club.
Yeah.
This guy, you want to talk about a decisive goaltender, right? Goalkeeper. Literally, he made so many amazing saves, and he was making the save before I could even react to the shot. That's how, and I guess in soccer, that's how you have to be. There was one play, Scotty, where he torpedoed out of the net head first.
He was like at the edge of the penalty box.
And and it was a successful play. He headed the ball, right? Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Headed the ball
but it was like a diving header because it was him or a striker that was going to get to the ball, and it surely would have been a goal.
If he had hit anything but the ball, he would have been in big trouble.
Yeah.
Like another person. So I thought that was amazing. Okay, gripes. And this is not so much with the sport. It is with the operation. Okay? I totally get. We talked about this on the way down to the stadium, how, if you're having a stadium that gets renovated, a lot of times you don't have the luxury of playing anywhere else or having the construction go on outside of
and they are
the time you're playing.
They aren't currently, for context. Half the stadium is closed right now for renovation.
Now, the guy who owns the team is Clark Hunt.
Yeah.
He owns the Chiefs. Like, we ain't hurting for cash. So there was one thing I thought, the opposite side of us, right? Because everybody's on one side, which was pretty cool because you could feel the juice. But on the opposite side, I think we need like a big video board. We needed more. Like, I think there's an assumption there, and maybe this is my problem, but like, I don't know a ton about soccer. There were a lot of times when I had no clue what was going on, where I had to ask Scotty what was happening. Twice Dallas scored goals that for sure to, a bumpkin like me, I was like, goal. Okay, good. Let's move on. And then like 2 minutes later, they'd be like, oh, that wasn't a goal. Offside.
They got called back, yeah.
Okay, my closest comparison is hockey.
Yep.
When that happens, it's like a bang, bang call. You're pissed because your guy was offsides, but you're not hanging around for 60 seconds trying to figure out what the hell's what.
Yeah.
There was a lack of communication.
So
for people who don't know.
So soccer has a official that is upstairs who's looking at a monitor.
He needs to come downstairs.
And the way that the reviews the way it works in soccer is that official upstairs decides if a play needs to be looked at by the lead official who's running the game on the field.
They got to hasten that process.
Dude, here's what's crazy. The process you saw was actually pretty quick compared to others I've seen. I've seen reviews take 4 minutes in a match. Both of those, like you said, about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
B, I know you said earlier, like there were some times it got a little stale on the field. That 60 seconds to make those offsides calls with the video assistant referee was way less than it takes college football to review a play, which happens 10 times a game now in college football.
Okay.
Infinitely less annoying than that.
Good point. However, there could have been a better messaging and communication to the fans.
Okay.
Like under review right away.
All right.
Like not and honestly, even the guy on the PA was like late to tell us what was going on. And you're a soccer aficionado, and there were times when you were in the dark.
I missed one of them. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Okay. Another thing, there was primetime real estate at the stadium. And again, this goes back to there's so much I don't know about everything. But like there was primetime real estate like behind each goal where nobody was there. Like, and you said there used to be like a beer garden.
Yeah, so I hope my buddies don't watch this because this is the fatal flaw at Toyota Stadium right now.
So you're going to agree?
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. So behind one of the nets, there used to be the supporter section where they had the drum lines and the flags and like they used to be behind the net down there. And they had 10 years ago there was a beer garden down there. It was super cool. Good vibes to go hang out, watch the game, enjoy yourself. At some point, probably 7 or 8 years ago now. What they did, that area is now used as a stage when they host concerts at that stadium. So they've completely cleared it out. And now there's a big inflatable FC Dallas sign that kind of lights up neon. And there's 2 Toyota trucks parked down there, which is like dream advertising for them, I guess.
Yeah.
But everyone I know who hates on FC Dallas makes fun of that because it is a horrible defect of the way that stadium is set up.
And what I said to Scotty was, I said, it's funny because clearly Toyota, like marketing-wise, has kind of taken over that section of the stadium.
Yeah.
And you can't have like the Toyota beer garden.
Yeah, you can't have a beer garden next to a vehicle. Right.
Yeah, like so maybe that was why because the Toyotas are right where the beer garden.
But I
would
think
be.
I'm trying to be optimistic that post renovation that stadium's gonna make a lot more sense.
I can promise you.
Yeah.
Post renovation, I'll be back.
Yeah, we'll go.
I'll for sure. Like I don't like. The future is bright for the MLS and also for Dallas or for FC Dallas because you look at the Hunt family, and it was funny because I was at that family gathering yesterday talking to Christy's cousin Joe, and he was like, Clark Hunt is putting a ton of money into this organization. Like apparently, I don't know if he already has or it's been recent.
Well, it's one of the founding organizations of MLS, so it's been a long time.
Yeah. So they're going to put a lot of money into it.
And when I hosted your show, like a lot of that money, FC Dallas is considered the best academy system in America by a lot of folks.
What does that mean, academy system?
So in soccer, player development starts when you're like 8 or 10. And if you're good enough, you can go play for FC Dallas Academy at 10, 12 years old. And you will come up through the organization, through their coaching staff. And you could sign with the big league team in 15, 16. If you're going to, Jesus Ferreira, my favorite player I've told you about that we traded this offseason, 16 years old, made his debut for the top squad.
Wow.
So it's not like traditional, it's not like football where you play high school, you get scouted, you get recruited, you go college, you get scouted, you get drafted. It's nothing like that. If you're that good, that's why I was telling you the kid Bernard Kamunga, who they took out of Abilene High.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome story.
That's a bizarre story because most of the time, if you're that good in high school, you're already playing for a club. Probably not at the senior team level. That's why I told you too. The kid that you drafted out of Oregon State. That's a weird exception that he's actually been a contributor. Because usually the kids that contribute, either you sign from Europe, Petar Musa, who scored, or they've come up through your academy. Right now, depending on the event, the United States men's national team could feature as many as a quarter of the players came up through that system in FC Dallas.
That's awesome.
Including Weston McKennie, who's a big star, Ricardo Pepi, who's the best striker on the national team, Chris Richards, who's the best center back on the national team. They all came up through FC Dallas.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's cool to know. I didn't know that.
Part of, and now the criticism of the club is they have this great academy. They end up selling all these great players, making money, developing good players. That club has yet to win an MLS championship, though.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's brutal. Being an FC Dallas fan is a lot like being a Dallas Cowboys fan. It's just year after year of heartache and disappointment.
Well, I'll tell you what, that guy, Scotty was in love with the guy that went to Oregon, number 23.
Oregon State, Logan
State.
Farrington.
Look,
yeah, he's really
great
good.
story. I'm sure he's good. I as someone who was invested on Saturday night, I didn't feel good when he had the ball.
He was playing out of his natural position.
He was good because it felt unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that guy, that's great. We can play. Scotty gets upset because he's passionate. That's great. We can play him, but like I was like, wait, this doesn't feel right. He's got the ball, and the one guy, number 10, who's very good,
Lucho Acosta.
Lucho, too much dancing with the ball.
That's all he does. Yeah.
Too much dance. Kick the ball. A couple times he had it. Like, okay, like conventional wisdom, just for me to kick it, but he would keep dancing, and then it would get taken away.
Yeah, he had some bad turnovers, especially early in that game. But yeah, he's a legend because he'll dance, and sometimes you get frustrated, and sometimes he makes three guys miss and makes a pass that you don't know how he saw, and someone scores. Like he scored one of those goals that got called back for offside, where he just chipped a shot that just hooked right.
That was hard. That was hard. The two goals getting called.
Yeah,
back.
I do it.
Scotty, I would go back. First of all, I'd go anywhere with you. And Christy would too. Everybody loves Scotty. So does Caden. I mean, it was a lot of fun. The camaraderie and fellowship trumped the actual event, but I would go back.
We'll go back, man.
And I will go back. When's the stadium getting done?
3 years from now.
Oof, I'll go back.
3-year project.
I'll go back before. I mean, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. But great night, Scotty. Thank you for introducing me to FC Dallas. And I didn't want to give. Look, man, I wanted to give a real, unadulterated.
I appreciate
reaction.
that. I appreciate that. And here's my biggest reflection on what you said that I think is true. If you didn't grow up playing soccer like I did, it can be a high barrier for entry if you don't understand what's happening.
All right. Now that seems dismissive.
No, I was being sincere because, like
Okay.
you said, like there wasn't very good communication
No.
on what was going on. When we're further away, it's hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
And you said there's moments I didn't understand.
Yeah, and I got to imagine there's a lot of people in the stands like me.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm not insulting you.
Yeah.
It is a simple sport, but if you've never played it, it takes time. It's like any sport. Sport. I mean, football. I mean, how many girls have you dated? I've certainly dated girls where it's like they don't understand the first thing about football, and you suddenly realize all these things that I just know, all these things I take for granted that just I instantly know.
Yeah.
Like that's not just regular commonplace.
I mean, football's like a first language for us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But that's not public, like
Yeah.
common, even simple stuff. It's not public, commonplace knowledge all the time.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, man.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show. We're going to wrap it up. Why don't you head over to the Cam Show right now? That's our guy. Cam is a live wire, and I had a chance to talk to him for a while on Friday, and just check out the Cam Show. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks to Slovacics. I'm still waiting to hear back. I emailed this guy at the Salt Lake City Tribune. He just totally blew me off. I'm not going to say his name, but God bless him. He did a great job this week, but he's been busy. But yeah, the Pete Sousa Show, we will be back tomorrow. Can't wait. We'll see.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Sports.
We are Rogue Media Sports.